You could say anti-Semitism is what brought me to my Jewish identity. In college, I began to hear that there are some people who are reading some books that are illegal. I say, well, what does this mean? How could a book be illegal? I love books. I read books. So, I began to kind of look for those people, the so-called dissidents or refuseniks. And one thing led to another, and one of them trusted me and gave me a book to read. Exodus by Leonid. Somebody smuggled it in, and among the dissidents and refuseniks, we passed it around. It changed my life. It changed really hundreds of thousands of people's lives. I suddenly heard that Israel is not an enemy, that Israel is a Jewish country, that there is a language called Hebrew, that the Bible was written in my language, that it's okay to be a Jew. So my pride grew, my Jewish pride. From being beaten down, suddenly I say, I should not be ashamed. I should not be embarrassed. And then the day after I received my diploma as a physics teacher, I applied for immigration and I get refused. I run away from the KGB. I'm hiding in a village. One thing leads to another, and eventually I am arrested. I go on a hunger strike. But you don't go on a hunger strike alone. So, through the refuseniks in Moscow, through Sharansky, my name immediately was mentioned on BBC Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, and Voice of Israel. People have to know about it, so you don't disappear. It's my first night in prison. The guard clangs open the cell. There are a few of us brought in. He says, Ivanov, Peekov, you go over here. The moment he says my Jewish name, Feldman, I know that will be the end for me. I will be raped that night. So, I know I only have one evening to save myself. Quickly, I look around. I know right away who is the toughest guy. And so when this guy says, I want it quiet, everybody suddenly finds their place in the bunks. And the only place available for me is next to him. Because nobody wants to sleep next to him. You know, if you bump him in the middle of the night, you might get a knife in the back. So I am next to him. And this guy, Vito, says, I want some jokes. And somebody from the other side of the cell begins to tell, the dirtiest joke. And suddenly, I realize, this is my chance. I know a lot of good jokes. So I say, hey guys, would you like to hear something fresh from the free world? And they say, okay. So I tell them the best joke I know. And they are laughing, and I tell another and another. I spend the entire evening entertaining them, and so slowly, everybody falls asleep. On the third evening, somebody comes over and begins to bother me because I'm already weak from not eating and I'm lying down. And Vito says, don't touch teacher. Teacher. That was my nickname. And that is how I survived. Vito liked me and offered to protect me. But what kept me going? Anger. Anger against the government. Anger that they lied to me all my life. That they denied to me, the right to be a first-class citizen. I was a patriot. I was passionate. I was a communist. And yet they never gave me a chance. And now that I know there is a place for me, it is better to die in that cell than to stay in the Soviet Union. KGB gave in. They said, okay, get out. We'll give you 2 weeks to leave the country. And that was it. And I said goodbye to my only sister, to my family, to my friends, to my language, to my culture, to everything I knew. But I was free.